Street, Portsmouth. I promise I'll be very courteous. It's my nature to be courteous. I'm a PSRS retiree. I'm not here tonight to speak about the offset. If I was, then I'd have 200 of my friends with me. But I want to talk about three kind of technical aspects of PSRS that I'd like for council to interact with the retirement board to probe these matters. The three matters of concern are the way the Social Security offset, the Social Security calculation is a macro calculation. It commingles earnings from other employers, both before and after employment with the city, and in some cases, if a retiree was working part-time while they were working with the city. I think if you look into that, you'll find that the calculation by using that technique is wrong and has always been wrong. The second is that the Social Security offset is calculated at age 65. And if you read through the code, it makes several references to normal retirement age. It appears to me that at one time, the Social Security offset was synced with Social Security when the Social Security normal retirement age was 65. In 1983, the Social Security Administration changed the normal retirement age so that it was in increments based on your birthday. I think you'll find that most retirees don't meet the normal retirement age in their Social Security until they're 66 or 66 and older now. The way the offset's applied now, you're almost forced to apply for Social Security before your normal retirement age because the offset's applied. So you have this tremendous loss of income before your normal retirement age with the Social Security. And if you read the code, I believe there are code entries that acknowledge that it should be done what the existing social administration was at the time of your retirement from the city. So I think it's already in the code. The last thing, and probably the most important, it doesn't get spoken about, is the loss of cost of living. Not only the PSRS retirees suffer the Social Security offset, which nobody else in the state does, they also have this mysterious cost of living elimination that's not in the code anywhere. I did Freedom of Information Act ask what documents support that action, what code, what memos, what discussions with BRS, and it came back there were none. If you look on that document, the front page was a page that was prepared by the city CFO at the time during, I think, 2008, 2009.
The spreadsheet that you have.
Yes, sir. If you notice, this was a city finance prepared document that refers to it as PRS. We call it Portsmouth Supplement. It calls it PRS, Portsmouth Retirement System, which is not a small detail to us. So there's this piling on loss of $3,000 in this scenario. If the city determined that the cost of living, it's really kind of a general wage increase, was appropriate from your retirement age up to 65, why they then would determine that we want to take it back while we're also applying the Social Security offset. Seems like mean-spirited piling on and is not supported by any code. What I would request is, as you have interaction with the retirement board or the city attorney's office, that you probe these matters. I feel pretty confident that all three you will find could and should be administered differently. In at least two of the cases, probably all three have always been administered incorrectly. I appreciate your time.
Thank you, Ms. Winter. Very well. Ms. Randall.
Thank you so very much. And it is so unfortunate that we are finding that still during time that disparity still exists. It existed long before we got into the system. And as a result, it never caught up. So who are coming through the system now. For those who came through earlier, the system never corrected itself. So it's always a catching up thing. So that would be a good thing for this generation, speaking to you, I think, you're older than you are, for this generation to have some thoughtful dialogue about the impact that it's going to have on the generation that you are in. And as you reach your retirement, but look at those who are coming behind you, who never had the benefit of even getting up to where you are. So I think it's a good project for us all to look at.
Let me say this too, if I can still
Sure, go
speak.
ahead.
With the resolution that was passed May 25th, 2010, charging the city manager with the offset. I have to say and the group that I routinely meet with, we have around 150, 175 now, are disappointed that not one positive action has taken place. But more importantly, that nobody has ever reached out to us to even discuss this with us, to hear what ideas we have, what negotiations we could offer up, these things like code. This is our lives. There is a group of us that spend a remarkable amount of time researching these things.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you,
Mr.
sir.
Thank you, Mayor. Mr. Figgin, you don't have to come back. I was going to refer to that resolution passed by council back in 2010 also. And what needs to be done is for the present council to task the city manager, which we did in 2010, to come back with a plan to correct some of these things. If you look at the authorization on the Social Security offset, it's about as plain as mud. I've read it numerous times, and in that, I don't get where it authorizes anybody to take 50% of your Social Security out of your retirement. And the other things that you point out with the changes in the Social Security age, that hasn't been adjusted. So consequently, the city is putting a lot of hardship on a lot of its retirees that didn't retire at a whole lot of money to start with. So once again, that resolution, members of the council, is still out there. It just hasn't, switch hasn't been thrown. It's up to this council to task the city manager to do what council back in 2010 directed them to do. And that's to come back with some suggestions on how we correct some of these things. But thanks again for keeping it in front of us.
Mr. Rowe?
Yes, sir.
Cut your mic.
There we go. I didn't know Jim was coming tonight, but coincidentally, today,
Take your seat.
I met today with the chairman of the retirement board. We're already working on these things. And everything that's said, we've got it on our to-do list.
Great. All right, very good. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Yes. Our next speaker is Ms. Betty Ashbury, and she's followed by Ms. Pat Simons.
Good evening, my name is Betty Ashbury. I reside in Westmoreland Townhouses in the Turpin section of Portsmouth. Before I begin, I wish each and every one in this chamber a happy new year and hope it's a good one for everybody here.
Thank you. Same to you.
I listened to everything that you all just got through saying, okay? And I'm going to still say a little bit about what I was going to say. And I don't really think that I have ever gotten up here and really blessed any of y'all out. The only time I ever got up here and spoke to anyone was when I thought I was treated rudely. Really? Okay. I won't even bring that up anymore. I don't have any quotes for you, tell you the mayor. Last year, I made up my mind I wasn't going to come and speak to council anymore because I really felt like sometimes it was a waste of time. But last weekend, after I had so many phone calls, my good sense and my no sense at all had arguments all weekend about whether I wanted to come and speak to you all one more time. So here I am. I want to speak to you about the matter you all have just been speaking about. you all think you all have it rough. I was president of the Portsmouth Junior Women's Club and dealt with 120 females under the age of 35. I was also president of the Churchland Middle School PTA and dealt with, I can't even tell you how many parents. Well, I know what rough is, okay? But anyway, getting back to this, I guess you all know which one of my sides won, because here I am. I think it was the no census anyway. The term has been used frequently, new beginnings and unity. And that's what I'm asking you all to consider tonight. I think you all are depriving the citizens of this city, and you are monitoring and taking away, and you also censoring what they're able to hear. Also, freedom of information that they get to hear. And some people, I think modern technology is wonderful, but I don't email and I don't text. I prefer to talk face to face with a person because I think you can look at them and tell just how genuine their reaction is. And if I can't get you face to face, then I'm gonna pick up the telephone and call you. Some of you up there already know that, because I called you frequently. Yes, I will call. I'm hoping that you all will reverse the decision you all made tonight about not television and non-judge speakers. I realize some people get up here and maybe get a little carried away, and I hope they will maybe adjust some of the things that they have to say. But I do believe that every citizen in this city, as a taxpayer, and particularly those that are unable to come down here and hear what you all and other citizens have to say in person, will get an opportunity to know what the current concerns are of all of the citizens. And they have a right to know, and you have a right to disagree, and we have a right to disagree with you. And we have a right to voice that, and we have a right to let the other citizens know that they have the right to disagree as well. And I think the mark, and I've always been told, the mark of a good leader is when, one, that they can admit that they've made mistakes, that they apologize, and then they correct it. And I hope that's what you all will do tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am, very much. I don't know, Ms. Ashburn, if you were privy to our discussion in the work session, we also said we were part of the problem. We said we as a family, we all, the council as well as citizens. So thank you for your comment.
Ms. Pat Simons. She's followed by Mr. Steve Carroll.
Good evening, council, and Happy New Year to each of you. Pat Simons from Mimosa Cove. Now, I realize from your decision that you all want each and every one of us to be meek and quiet as a mouse. And all I can say is, things that I have brought before this council in the past have been things that citizens have thanked me for bringing to your attention. When I brought up the $52 million appropriated by the school board that none of you were aware of, people thanked me for that. I don't know, I hope that I have never been rude to you. I have never said an untruth when I've come up here. I have pointed out things that some of you have done that were not above board and should never have been done, but they were truthful. Now, you admitted yourself in the comments you just made that some things you didn't control. Now, I don't know what the problem is and why things weren't controlled, but I believe one of you should have the right to appoint a parliamentarian, or maybe the attorney should be one. I don't know. Who knows that? But if somebody sitting there is in charge and doesn't take control like they should, shouldn't that parliamentarian step in and take the control so that things would never come to this? When you tear out a man's tongue, you are not proving him a liar. You're only telling the world that you fear what he might have to say to you. Withholding information is the essence of tyranny, and controlling the flow of information is the tool of a dictatorship. To prohibit the voice of certain people is to declare the people to be either fools or slaves. And the citizens in this town don't fit that description. You can torch every citizen's voice. You can refuse to let it be heard. You can char their every word to ash. But ideas are incombustible, and therein lies your real fear. Once a government is committed to the principle of silencing the voice of the people, it has only one way to go, and that is down the path of increasingly repressive measures. When truth is replaced by silence, the silence is a lie. You will never be able to conceal your faults by concealing evidence that they ever existed. In silencing the voices of the citizens, you are showing utter contempt for all the thinking a citizen has done, all the labor that has gone into their words and their sentences, and all of the time and effort that one has put forth to bring it before you. Better a thousandfold abuse of free speech than denial of free speech. The abuse dies in a day, but the denial stays the life of the people and entombs the hope of the race. Censorship is never over for those who have experienced it. It is a brand on the imagination that affects the individual who has suffered it forever. You are attempting to practice Soviet-style censorship through creative omission. That's all this amounts to. The real question here isn't what you think is relevant, but what your audience thinks is relevant. Denying people information they may find useful or enlightening just because you don't want them to know about it is censorship, not leadership. Each of you were elected to sit up there and lead us, and we expect that. Pontius Pilate was the first great censor, and Jesus Christ was the first great victim of censorship. I implore each of you personally to consider which one of those aisles you sit in. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Following Mr. Carroll is Ms. Dolores Snyder.
Evening, Mayor, members of council and staff. I'm Steve Carroll, 112 River Ridge Drive. I guess these newspaper articles and the quotes attributed to council, you would be surprised that we're here tonight, considering we're nothing more than TV hawking grandstanders. Some people on council really do have a lot of bark on their tree, criticizing us as being bashers. I'll speak for myself. I come to this council and to this podium factually armed every time. Every time. And I'll elaborate more on that in a minute. We ask you, what happened to the $52 million that the school board illegally appropriated? How did it happen? We get silence. We ask the mayor to summon those who are responsible for imposing crippling tolls on us for the next 58 years so that they can answer questions to the public. We get silence. We ask how a $53 million courthouse turns into a $78 million courthouse. The justification for muzzling-ness is to limit personal bashing. In all honesty, Mayor, would you like for me to quote to you some of the things that I've heard you whisper on the mic on the Channel 48 recording, and I know it can be corroborated? Would you like for me to do that? You might consider getting Mrs. White to school you on mic etiquette. Now, several months ago, I came to this podium and spent hours of research explaining to this council just how grave the tolls were to the people of the city. And you had told me after the meeting that you insisted that it was only going to cost us $10 billion. I insisted it was $28 billion. 3 weeks later, my figures were pretty much vindicated when the pilot said that ERC was going to net $21 billion. And that doesn't include the money the state's going to give. And we're not informative, that we have nothing to add, that the public can't learn from what public speakers have to say. I challenge every member of this council to name an instance where I did not come to this council and factually make my point. The lame excuse that other cities don't rebroadcast their non-agenda speakers has been rolled out. I don't live in Norfolk or Virginia Beach. I live in Portsmouth. They have their own problems to deal with. I live here. I pay taxes here. My children were raised here. I have every right to ask how my taxes are spent. I have every right to expect accountability from my city council and from staff. No one's being fooled by your smokescreen. This is proof that politicians are a dime a dozen in the city and statesmen are very difficult to come by. Your attempt to withhold information from the public and muzzle us belies statesmanship. You didn't even have the integrity to tell us that you were going to consider this. We didn't know about this advance. We knew about it after the fact. Who made this decision? When I called to find out who made this call, who made the decision to pull the plug on the non-agenda speakers, couldn't get an answer. Who made the decision? You know, this is not 2013 Portsmouth. When you muzzle people's ability to get information, you are now turning the city into Berlin in 1936. That's horrible. That's a terrible indictment. People like this man right here, who fought several wars and put his life on the line to give us freedom of speech. My hat goes off to you, Mr. Bowler, and everybody that wore the uniform in the country of the United States of America, including my dad, who served this country for 27 years. I don't need to say any more.
Thank you, sir.
Ms. Dolores Knight is followed by Mr. Clyde Toller.
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor Cherry, Council, City Manager John Rowe, and guests. My name is Dolores Knight, and I live in Crowley. First, I want to thank City Manager John Rowe for all he assisted me with Wheeler Brader and the Civic League, and all these people did come to the meetings, and I appreciate that so much. In fact, we had Mike Staunton, the Deputy Fire Department, and Fire Chief, and he had 2 others with him, but they couldn't stay for the whole meeting. They had to go back to work. Mayor Wright, soon after your election in 2011 as mayor, you attended the Portsmouth Council of Civic Organizations, which we shortened for PCCO, which was just 2 years ago, where several council members attended as well. There were many civic leagues attended, and I am sure that many here tonight remember this long-winded speech of Harry was intimidating to us, that you were in command, trying to keep us in our place by making us feel bad with loud and harsh words, to follow your orders and to use chains of command. You also made the remark that the citizens are showing up at council meetings just to grandstand to be seen on TV. So you had to wait 2 years to get someone to do the dirty work? Mayor, your command and Councilwoman Simmons called your command and had the article in December 16, 2012, current section of the paper. Is this how you are? You tell the news reporter Gary Harkey what to write? Do you think that you are a drill sergeant? Or maybe President of the United States or Commander of Portsmouth? Mayor, you are none of these. You need to face reality. This is wrong to stop the average knowledge of the speakers in Portsmouth. We all know knowledge of the speakers vary, but you must remember the citizens vote for each of you on council, put you in office and pay your salary and all the fine dinners that you have at the meetings and work sessions. For some reason, we are concerned that it should still be televised, and that's what we consider, because there are many knowledge of the speakers, but they have different reasons of coming forward. And just like my issues, I have been through department heads and no one seemed to help them. So I just had to come and speak, so that was another reason. So you, the council, did not discuss this in open session and on agenda for the January 3rd meeting. It was closed meeting only, behind closed doors in a closed session. So this is so wrong, the way that it was handled. It was not voted on anywhere, never. All of you sitting in front of these citizens know you are completely wrong. Remember the saying, if you can't take the heat, you should not run for the seat. Take heed and try to work together and do the right thing for the city. This is the new year with new faces on the council. Get involved and pay attention to the citizens' wants and needs for our community, like the ditches and the street pavings and many more things that we need. And I appreciate your time. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms.
Mr. Clyde Toller is followed by Mr. Nelson Velez.
Mayor Wright, Vice Mayor, Member of Council, City Manager, City Attorney, and the good Sergeant, I'm glad to see you. Maybe you will keep some order in here. Anyway, my name is Clyde Toller, Powerview. I live in Powerview. And it's good to be here tonight. And Mr. Moody, I take my hat off to you. Thank you for all you do for the council. Thank you for standing up for the citizens. I said before, back in the day, take your little camera off of me. Because if I come up here styling and all that, I would be in a jacket. I'd have on a necktie and a shirt just like you. Ask everybody to see me when I go out. I'm dressed. So I'm not styling when I come up here. When I come up here, I come up here for a reason. And I come up here for the help, the citizen of this city and myself, and the guidance that you read, Ms. Simmons, for we citizens. I want you to give me the guidance. It's for the council. You read that to me about your conduct and the way you should act. You read that to the citizen too, just like you did to us, to how we should act and respect you. But you got to give respect to get respect. I'm not a copycat. I don't live in Chesapeake, Norfolk, or either Virginia Beach. I live in Portsmouth. And if we so dumb that we got to copycat after some other city and do what they do, then we should move to that city and run for council and sit on council over there. Not here. But anyway, I heard before, years ago, after 9 o'clock, the council made a statement up there. After 9 o'clock, I don't hear nothing you got to say no way. Now this was said, it's on tape. I can go back and put it up and prove it. All right, we are re-elected councilman again this year. We're scraping the barrel. We had to go back and pick up council because nobody went wrong. We had to take back people who were, once we said we didn't want no more, we took them back again. But you see, I said at the last meeting, it's gonna come a time, less than 4 months. I said they're gonna be up here hard, you gotta go. Didn't I say that last December? When the current came out with that little thing about cut us off, everybody called me, they gotta go. They gotta go. Why? Well, I didn't put them up there, you did. Don't come and crying to me about it. Come down here and do something about it. I don't want to be put on TV, but you can stop us, but we can always send our pictures to the newspaper if you want to stop. We can also add the newspaper to put in what we say. And they might sell a lot of paper because the pollen is very skimpy. They need to put some in there so they have something to read. But this is what needs to be done. But your behavior has been very, very bad. You have been disobedient to one another, been disrespectful and all. And we citizens have sit out here went through that. But the main little group is Mr. Carroll, Pat Simon, Lois Knight, Joe Wright, and down the side, and of course my good man Mark, and yours truly, Clyde Toller. Here we are, and we are back here again. Now, this cut me off and not to the citizen all. I can also go to my Veteran of Foreign War, Civic Leagues and all. I can still spread the word about you. And I tell the people, look, they don't have to come to, they need to come to council here. This place should be packed every night. Not just to see us. I don't come up here styling, because if I come before you styling, you would know it, because I would be standing straight up, dressed up, looking good. But I come in just like this, dressed as you should come like you are, because I am not working for you, you are working for me. And this way, we all can get along good, and I don't want to be no copycat behind any other city. Be Portsmouth, be Portsmouth. And lower my taxes, and stop and answer Mr. Curls. Give him an answer about the school board where people's coming. Give them an answer. Silence is no good. And then when we come up here and somebody get a little rough around the edge with you, you get all teed off with them. Stop getting teed off and do something. I said this before. You need to do something. And tell the people what's going on. Take care of this offset Social Security. Stop beating around the bush with it. But you keep beating around the bush with a lot of stuff you should be doing and stop wasting my taxpayer money. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Talker.
The next speaker is Mr. Nelson Velez, and he's followed by Mr. Luke McCoy.
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, members of City Council. I was impressed with the last speaker who was talking about styling. But I guess since we're not on television, I'm not feeling bad about not wearing my tuxedo tonight. My name is Nelson Velez, and I own the Book Owl bookstore that's in Churchland. I speak today knowing that my voice will rise and die within these walls. I am a non-agenda speaker, and like all my other fellow agenda speakers tonight, we will now and forever be silenced. This once public forum has been made very private, very private. Those who speak here today have been silenced from broadcast, and those at home tonight will be denied the right to hear what we say here today and for the foreseeable future. We are non-agenda speakers. But that's not exactly true, is it? If you think about it. Everybody that's left home, left their families, left the church, to be here tonight, they come here because they have an agenda. They do. It's just not your agenda. But all the non-agenda speakers here have agendas. From our point of view, for us, we are agenda speakers, and at times our agenda are as important and as vital as the agenda items that you create. And they ought to be heard by everyone. City Council, in one of its first acts of the new year, placed a blackout on any and all matters that we bring to your attention that has the misfortune of not being on one of your agenda items. The citizens that approach you in this forum and those who watch at home for information on your agenda, as well as our agendas, are your bosses. We pay the bills. This is our stuff, all of this. The chairs, tables, this building is ours. We pay your salary. We pay your salary, and we should be listened It is equally important that your bosses must be heard. It is important that the people have their issues and concerns heard by their friends and neighbors in and around the city. You have effectively professed to the city that their voices need not be heard if not on your agenda. You have effectively informed the city that their voices need not be brought to bear. How convenient that you can silence the public in this way. You have the forum on the items you deem appropriate for your agenda, but we the people who you represent and serve, you would silence our voices and bar the citizens from hearing their peers. This is a very dangerous and unacceptable action. How telling that this represents one of your first acts at the beginning of this new year in your service to the city, and how arrogant the display of power. I am the founder and president of the Churchland Regional Association of Businesses, and I also represent the Portsmouth chapter of the Hampton Roads Tea Party. And we object to this silencing of our voices and the blocking out of our fellow citizens from being able to hear the issues that we the people deem important and are on our agenda. While I do appreciate this opportunity to speak to City Council, I do not appreciate myself and all the other citizens here that speak here tonight and all future sessions from having their voices rise and die within the privacy of these walls. Any of you who agree with my position, please stand. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Being a mayor really means to the city. We have three, not old faces, but three faces that in 2 years you'll be up for re-election, and it'll be a very important time to you. And I haven't seen a person yet that sat on council that didn't like being a city councilman, that didn't want to run again. But January 1st is a time for new beginnings. It's a time for new resolutions. It's a time to make commitments. And I heard just today that in 90 days, 90% of all resolutions that were made by human beings will be broken, or they will stop. I suggest to you tonight, and Mr. Rowe, I sat in your seat. I sat over here in one of these seats for 12 years. I sat in this chamber for 15 years as a deputy or as your city manager. 15 years of 29 years and a few months that I served were the best years and the days of my life. I think it's an important time. I sat, Mr. Rowe, where you are, and I was not pleased sometimes of how uncomfortable your seat can become sometimes when citizens are talking to you about actions you did or you didn't take that you should have taken. Mayor, you have the opportunity to lead a city that desperately needs leadership. If there's a city in the state of Virginia that needs good leadership, I will tell you it's the city of Portsmouth tonight. To the other 6 members as vice mayor of city council, it's important that you work together as a team. I looked at the paper when the 4 of you were sworn in, and I don't know where the pilot representative is tonight, but what a shame it was for the Virginia pilot to print a picture of 4 people that it looked like they posted individual 4 pictures of you, and there was certainly not a smile on your face, and there certainly wasn't a commitment, a camaraderie, or teamwork in that picture. I ask that you start January 1st, 2013, working with the citizens, working as a city council to make the city better, working with a city manager that has the expertise of having served in many locations throughout the city, that has been on both sides of the fence, that got fired and got hired. And that's not unusual for a city manager. If he does his job, he puts himself in that position almost every day, because he has to make decisions that you've hired him to make. I would suggest that you take, with your leadership, and you list those things that you did not accomplish in 2012, and make them a commitment that you clear them up in 2013. And I don't mean just brushing them to the side, but taking actions. And if people have asked questions and they didn't get the answer, find out what answer. They may not like it, but give them an answer. And I think that's a part of being a commitment. I know that many times, and I look up there, Mr. Moody can tell you, Marlene Randall can tell you. I'll wrap up, Mayor. I made just.
Thank you. Good night, sir. Appreciate it. Very good seeing you.
Ms. Donna Side is followed by Mr. Ernest Ballard.
Good evening. My name is Donna Sy. I live in the Woodbine Farm section of Churchland. Principle of Liberty 8. Men are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights. Because we have these rights, we have public and private duties to protect them. One of our public duties is to perform our civic responsibilities. Vote, assist public officials, serve in official capacities when called upon, stay informed on public issues, and volunteer where needed. Staying informed on public issues has been a challenge for us in our city. The first issue, at the public hearing on January the 2nd, there was a list of responsibilities for council liaisons. I need information about the assignments, where the meetings will be held, the date and time of the meetings, who will receive reports of the representatives' actions, when and how the liaison reports are provided to the citizens. The second issue, money was spent for 3 studies done to develop a downtown master plan. Mayor Wright has succeeded in spending $65,000 for a study concerning the jail, which is part of the downtown master plan. I want to know, why is such a push to destroy the civic center, the jail, and the police department, in spite of the continued decrease in citizens' population? There were 3 waterfront studies done in May 208. One study cost over $352,000. The second study cost over $268,000. The third study was awarded to Wallace Robertson Todd LLC. The cost of their study was unavailable to me. The reason for the planning department was the company was contracted to develop the comprehensive plan in 204, 205. Therefore, these records are no longer available. On the bid sheet for the city, the date the company was contracted was May the 13th, 2008. I have written Mr. Alan Pruitt of Wallace Roberts Todd LLC to find out the truth of the matter. I want to know how much money the city paid this company and what were the services rendered. At the swearing-in ceremony, the mayor stated a number of times that Portsmouth is a historic city. If Portsmouth is such a historic city, why does he want all the buildings from the past torn down? The third issue, a newspaper article in the Current, dated 12/16/12, printed Ms. Simmons' remarks concerning non-agenda speakers. She stated non-agenda speakers were grandstanding or putting on a performance. I take offense by that remark. Are you talking about me, Ms. Simmons? She stated that non-agenda speakers can email the city clerk's office, and she says, I don't think it's the responsibility of the council to air their views on public television. When I gave an email feedback to council about what she said in the article, Ms. Simmons responded. The reporter asked me my opinion to non-agenda speakers being televised, and that is what I gave him. Elizabeth Simmons' views, just like you. I too have my own opinions on many matters. It was a position I've stated publicly many times before. My discussion with the reporter was not about what most people would like or a survey of citizens' opinions. It was a simple question to which I gave a simple answer. No, Elizabeth, you are not like me. I am not elected to city council, and my personal opinions do not get in the newspaper, and neither should yours. The voice of over 18,000 people who voted for you need to be consulted on all public issues that will sooner or later affect them. How did you get a law passed without going through the work session and public hearing process? The city council enabled you to push your own agenda, create a law that took away the democratic process, and disregarded principle of liberty 17. A system of checks and balances should be adopted to prevent the abuse of power. The council, under your direction, has abused their power. The law needs to be repealed. This is an unjust law. Give back to all the people their right to be seen and heard. Thanks for listening.
Mr. Bruce Ballard, and he's followed by Mr. Mark Geduldig-Yatrofsky.
Thank you very much, council members. I'm Bruce Ballard. I live at 1204 Marshland Circle in the River Point section of Portsmouth. I had sent to you all some letters just briefly about 3 years ago on behalf of the River Point Property Owners Association. We had gone to the city traffic engineer requesting that all of River Point Drive be made no parking. He ended up saying, well, we have a number of cars that continue to park on that street, and he said, well, we have to be sure that the city provides parking for everybody. I said, well, there's no homes on that street. Only address on that street is the River Point Clubhouse. And then I talked about, and you can see in the little drawing that I provided you, the width of River Point Parkway is considerably wider, and it's 2 lanes going in, 2 lanes going out. River Point Drive is a 2-lane road going both ways, and River Point Parkway is marked no parking, and we can park on River Point Drive. We have a total of there's 642 total residences inside that River Point Homeowners Association. There's a second section that's off to the left-hand side that's not part of that. But there are 471 residences that ride down this street that I'd like to see no parking put on. That amounts to 73% of all the traffic that comes in there. And down River Point Parkway, which is wider and divided highway on a divided street, is only 27% of the traffic that goes down there. With the advent of the new container shipping thing, there are lots of now tractor trailers that have begun parking in there also. They create a blind spot for anybody trying to ride down that highway, and it's not a highway, a city street.
On the River Point Drive or West Norfolk Road?
Well, we're now having some of those 18-wheelers come into the full neighborhood. They haven't been going all the way down River Point Parkway. They're making a turn going on River Point Drive and parking along there. They create a problem. You can park along there. 2 years ago, a gentleman made a turn off of River Point Parkway onto River Point Drive. The sun blinded him and he ran into the back of an 18-wheeler sitting there. It's dangerous, and we would just like you to consider taking what necessary steps there are to alleviate this problem before we have somebody who's going to get hurt. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Mr. Ballard, let me ask.
I sent you something, had you seen it, sir? Yeah. Okay. I had sent something to you. I had been, about 3 years ago, I had just been on behalf of the association. I had been to the traffic engineer and just laid out basically what I was giving here, and he just said, we have an obligation to see that people can park. and that's not even on their street.
Okay, I understand. So if you sent us something, we can get it digested, get it over to the manager and the traffic folks, and we'll
Yes.
revisit that.
Yes.
Thank you, sir, for your
Thank you.
concern. Dr. Evans, did you have something?
Yes, sir, Mr. Now read that, and I was looking at what he was talking about, I understood.
Okay.
And I was just gonna suggest that, city manager, can look into that and come up with something to give Mr. Now. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Dr. Evans. Mr. Rowe?
Yes, sir. In fact, Mr. James Wright, the city engineer, and Fred Prusso are going to meet with him now, so we can get this in train.
Mr. Ballard, so you there, Mr. Ballard? We've been pretty good, huh?
Oh, you're faster than
Thank you, sir. Thank you for coming.
Mr. Geduldig-Yatrofsky, I have one speaker just before you, if you don't mind.
Fine.
Mr. Tony Goodwin. And then Mr. Geduldig-Yatrofsky will be our final speaker.
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, City Manager, and City Attorney. And I'd like to first off start by saying welcome to the new faces of this dais, Mr. Elizabeth Simmons and Mr. Danny. And congratulations to you all that have run this past year's election and successfully became your seats. With a little jest in the house, I'm sure Elvis is not in the house, but happy birthday to Elvis Presley. But I'd like to go ahead and get into the meat of the conversation this evening, and that is with the dire concerns of our business community here throughout the city, as well as the focal point of what I try to represent very well, and that is the downtown corridor. You know, business retention is very key. Of course, business development is also very key. So we have some gains that are coming, that have come in the just recent past, but we also have some big losers that are leaving. And so with that being said, just as long as we maintain a balance, because you can't control, obviously, the decisions of business owners in their decision to stay or come to our city and provide us with jobs, tax revenue, and services available to all of our citizens and workers that visit our city every day. I'm solely concerned with every business. Obviously from the biggest employer and biggest business in the city, and this is North Maple Shipyard, all the way down to the lady with the hot dog cart in front of this courthouse. So, because they all generate income for the city, which all sets obviously the responsibility of what the real estate taxes are and our citizens provide to run the city. So let's look at the focal point of downtown and what we have lost just recently in the past year. And starting off with obviously Montgomery Grill, for whatever reason it obviously closed. Good standing restaurant that had been in a way, shape, or form a restaurant for at least 5 years. And then beyond that, we also, in the most recent past, lost another restaurant on 4th Street, Logan Ray's. Following that, the coffee kiosk. Then, of course, our Old Town Art, we just lost at the end of the year. And then, and also Queen Bee's. These are shops that contributed to our city and our fabric of what we designed the downtown area to be, and that is a unique shopping destination and also a place to be and creating a sense of place. So I would encourage us all to be able to come together, work as a team, to be able to continue to bring in new business, retain the ones we have, help where help is needed, help us as the business community, help ourselves become stronger and more competitive in our region. That is key. I think there's a lot of folks that say back when certain restaurants and certain businesses in downtown, which are niche restaurants and destination driven, didn't have the Virginia Beach Town Center to compete with, didn't have the Greenbrier Town Center to compete with, nor the Peninsula Town Center, which draws right out of our backyard from Churchill. So I would just like to say, as far as working with you as a team, to maintain some strength and some resolve to get this economy back and running in Portsmouth, and to where everyone can benefit from fruits of our labors. So thank you for the opportunity to speak this evening. Of course, I forgot to say that I'm Tony Goodwin from the Parkview section of the city.
Thank you, sir. Good night, John.
And our final speaker, Mr. Martin Geduldig-Yatrofsky.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, honorable members of council, and fellow citizens. I don't often get an accompaniment when I speak, and absent a banjo player or a guitarist, I can do worse. There have been many eloquent speakers who preceded me, and some of you might consider what they had to say grandstanding, but I found that grandstanding is less than a precise term. It's like what Einstein said about time. It's relative. Because if somebody says something that you approve of, that's not grandstanding. Whereas if they say something that's not approving of you, you might consider it to be so. That's the way it is with human relationships. The main thing is that we do need to maintain decorum. We do need to maintain civility. We all have feelings. We all have families. We all have people who don't want to see us bashed. And we need to keep that in mind. No matter what you do to irritate us, we need to remember that if we cut you, you will bleed just as we will. But I'm going to hopefully shave your face without cutting your skin on this. I believe that the action you have taken is better representative of graduates of the Vladimir Putin School of Democratic Governance than it is elected officials in the United States of America. The dialogue should precede the action, not the other way around, especially as earlier speakers have said, because it is we the people who own the resources that you are controlling at our behest, in our stead.
That's right.
I would say to the four of you who were just recently elected or re-elected to those seats, that if you felt about this issue the way you expressed in the work session and to yourselves, you should have stated that on the campaign trail.
That's right.
So that the electorate could have judged the validity of those views and decided whether that qualified you more for the positions you're in than the statements you did make in public. You have not been forthcoming with us, and that bothers me. Transparency is essential, and those who do not trust in the people who elected them are not going to receive trust from those people. Trust is a two-way street. I hope that other people who have not voiced their concerns tonight will be present at Norcom in a week so that you can hear this message over and over again. And I want to tell my fellow citizens who have stood here while the city cameras, which is to say the cameras that your taxes support, were off, the cameras of PortsmouthCityWatch.org have been running. They're not as sophisticated as the city's cameras. And there will be some technical issues, I'm sure, when the contents of the memory cards get uploaded to YouTube. But there has been a record here tonight. In this day and age of technology that is available to the public, to the overwhelming public. It is really hard to silence the voice of dissent unequivocally. And Portsmouth City Watch, for which I am the publisher, will do its part to try to carry the message as far as possible. I thank you and good night.
Thank you, sir. Councilman Moody. Sorry, sir.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor. Mr. Geduldig-Yatrofsky, probably few of you realize it, but back in the days when the public work sessions were dark, meaning that they weren't publicized on our access channel, he also filmed those sessions. So I just want to thank you for getting the old camera out and going back into action. In fact, the mayor thanked him at the last meeting for the same camera that was used to film the mayor up in Washington. So isn't it funny how events sometimes turn?
That's
But,
right.
on a serious note, Mark, thank you for still going to get the word out. I think that's important. I do think it's a mistake, but thank you.
Thank you, sir. Councilwoman Simmons.
Thank you. I was just going to make two comments to the last speaker. Number one, in all the years I've been coming to council and watching council, and you, Mr. Geduldig-Yatrofsky, have come to council, for the record, you have never, ever been anything but polite, professional, and well-versed in your comments. You always do your homework, and even though I may disagree with you, you are never, ever disagreeable. Number two, I'm going to agree with you. One comment you made, I mentioned earlier tonight, that although I have my personal feelings about non-agenda speakers, I suggested in the work session that we listen to the citizens for a couple of meetings and then come back to this issue and decide what to do as a body in February. That was not what the majority decided, and so that's not what was decided. But I agree with what you suggested. That's just not what's going to happen. Majority rules will be work. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, good night, we're adjourned.
What does she mean by what she said in her last